Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. This is my podcast and YouTube channel, helping other people evolve. Today, I have my great friend, Adam. Hi, Adam. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Tammy?
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good.
Great. So I always like to share people how I meet people, right? So I've known Adam for almost 7 years now, which is so crazy that it's been that long. And we've just stayed in contact as friends. You know, Adam inspires me a lot, probably more than he knows, but he really does. I met him, I was on a lifestyle getaway in San Francisco, and Adam and his friend Ty were street dancers. And honestly, the craziest thing, Adam, is I've never seen you live street dance. It was just meeting you. We met him in a little, I don't know, a little area that you guys were just hanging out before you danced. And we didn't have time to come watch you dance when I was there. So it was kind of like, oh, but I watch you on videos and stuff. So we developed this friendship back then, and we've just stayed in contact and been friends since then. Now I've watched you go through some things in life, but I know right now, I love watching you with your kids. I see you, working with them daily and the things that you do with them. So I'm going to zip my lips for a minute, which is hard, as everybody knows, for me to do. But before I zip my lips, I do want to say what my mission and vision with Hope is. So when I started this project, all I wanted to do was help people know that they don't struggle alone. We live in a world that I know so many people are at home and they're sitting on their couch or they're laying in their bed and they just don't want to get up because their struggle is so bad. But unfortunately, a lot of people go through struggles, but fortunately, like Adam, they figure out a way to get to a strength and to continue to live life, and that's just what my mission and vision is, that maybe somebody will hear Adam's story today and get up and say, oh, I can open my front door and walk outside. Look what Adam's doing, and we all are still going to our strengths, but we're standing tall and getting through them. So I guess, Adam, if you could share a little bit of, Adam's life and growing up and, where you're at now.
Okay, yeah, that's no problem. So I grew up in Oakland, California. I'm 40. So I came up in a time where in Oakland, it was a drug-infested city. So, and I have older siblings too. So I got a couple of older brothers, a couple of older sisters. So you see things. I grew up fast. See things at a young age. And I was a curious kid. So that curiosity got me into trouble a lot.
Okay.
And I was able to get out of trouble because I knew how to talk very well. Like I said, I grew up pretty fast. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. We're gonna fast forward to me becoming a father. So that's a huge little gap. But so I become a father. I have 5 children. I have a 17-year-old who's going to UCLA next year, or Boston. So we don't know which one he's gonna choose. And I have that was my first son, my first marriage. Now, my second marriage, I have another 4 children, all siblings. So the ages are 11, turning 12, 10, 8, 7. So I had those that siblings, they're super close. And I was married to my second wife for 12 years.
Okay.
We've been divorced now for almost 3.
Wow.
So I've been a full-time father for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So having them full-time, when I say full-time, no breaks, with me every day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, just every day.
Right.
But that's where I did my most growth. I can say I see so many, you were a big inspiration. I heard you, we talked prior when we first met. So you told me your full story. And I'm like, man, I would be, when I first hit that divorce, it's that's the ugliest part of life, I believe. I associate divorce with death. So it's when you have somebody super close pass away, the closest thing that you could get to death is going through a divorce, where you lose that somebody that you built your life around, that you love, and this is your mate, this is your rib. You lose that person, right? So when I first went through that, a couple of people came into my mind where I was like, well, you know what? They got through their trial. so I can get through this one.
Mm,
You know, I had a
yeah.
lot of I had 3 people particularly that was close to me that helped me get through it. My siblings being one of them, and a really close friend, he's here right now, but Pastor Hasty, he gave me a lot of good
Mm,
information, a lot of good advice,
yeah. Yeah.
a lot of good advice. And he said that really made me step it up as a father. He said, listen, when Peter was on the water and Jesus walked on that water, and he called out to Peter, and Peter got out that boat, and he took what, 4 or 5, might be even 10 steps.
Right.
And Jesus said, come on. And Peter looked down, and then he sunk and he
Mm,
started drowning because he lost faith. He was like, no, I'm not. No, you got to keep your faith. You got to keep your eye on the prize. And that's what made me become this father that I am today. I kept my eye on God and my children. God
mm,
first, and then my kids second.
right.
So now my kids, as you know, Tammy, 3 of my sons are very heavily involved in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I have one California regional state champion, which is my 11-year-old son. And the other 2 just got their boxing card, their boxing license, where they can start competing now at 7 and 8. And my daughter competes in gymnastics.
Yes. Yes.
And this is something that I take pride in, is just being a father, just being there day to day, and ensuring them that you can do whatever you want to do in life.
Yeah.
I didn't really, a lot of us, not even me, but I feel like a lot of us didn't have that growing up, to where it's called the process of thinking big.
Mm, yeah.
As we get older, we dumb ourselves down
Right.
and we settle. So I'm gonna settle for this job at the Dollar Tree, or I'm gonna settle for this job at Walmart, instead of saying, well, what do I want to do?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go get in school, or I'm gonna go start up this business, or I'm gonna go do this, So I
Yes.
teach my kids, you could do anything you want to do, but some hard work has to be involved in that.
Right.
And my sons and daughter, they see it every day. I see my daughter work so hard, and like gymnastics is it's a great tool, not to just build muscle, but build the mind, and it builds self-discipline.
Sure.
And I love it because she can see the fruits of her labor.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So
Yeah. Real quick,
that's
Adam,
my story, is my children, and
yes.
being this father that I am today.
Yes. And I want to jump back just a little bit, because so you said you grew up in Oakland, where it was mostly drugs and gangs, probably, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're raising
Not
your
really
own.
gangs in Oakland. That's more Stockton, but in Oakland, it's heavily it's a drug trafficked area.
Okay, cool. So you live in Stockton now, so it's a drug gang area too, correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now you have these 4 children. Well, 5. I know your oldest is going off to college, which has been, I mean, for a parent to to see your children do well is just the best thing ever, right? When somebody comes to me and they're like, we love Chad. He's, he's respectful and he's this and he's that. And I'm like, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. He's 33 now, so I've done a good job.
Man,
but
33.
I know it's crazy, because I'm 32. I don't know how it happened, Adam. So, but I look at you with your kids and I'm like, he's doing this for his kids to know that they can do whatever they want if they put their mind to it, but also to keep them busy, so they're not being involved with that stuff as much as you possibly can. Is that, because I know that, busy people, you don't get sidetracked into that. And your boys and daughter are busy with what they're doing. I see it all the time. I'm like, look at them little boxers. I just love it.
Yeah.
So, but keeping them busy and keeping them out of that trouble, basically, because I feel like when you're not busy and doing disciplined things, you're going to find that trouble, or that trouble is going to find you.
So let me rewind. Okay. So I skipped a few things. I gotta go back.
That's okay. Rewind. I want to hear it.
Okay. So me and my wife divorced 3 years ago.
Right.
So she's in the same city, and we about to get a little personal. So I'm gonna let you in on just a few things.
Okay.
So somebody else can use this as a tool of motivation and inspiration. So at one point we shared custody, 50-50. Um, I spent over in court and fighting for my kids. She had, and California is a woman's state. So as a Black man going through the court system, I had to learn the hard way.
Mm.
The hard way. I have been put on ankle monitor, and this is after the divorce. I've never put my hands on a woman. I never would think about hitting a woman. Men, on the other hand, are something different. But we respect the women. We respect the ladies. That's how I was raised.
Right.
I have a twin sister, But their mother, she left. She moved back in with her father. Now her family is they're predominantly, they ain't they're gangbangers. That's how she grew up.
Okay.
They're in a gang known as Crips out here in Stockton. They share the city, Crips and Bloods. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I see a picture of my son at this. Now he's about to be 12. So at this point, he's probably like 9.
Okay.
I see a picture of my son with a blue rag. My son has a blue rag on with his other cousins, and they all throwing up a set. And if you don't know what that is, you can Google it. You could go YouTube it. So they throwing up their certain set and out here in the city. I see this picture on Instagram at all places. So the father in me, the man in me. Now I see her brother. Now her younger brother at this point is probably in his late 20s.
Okay.
He's in the picture too. So as my son, his 4 cousins who are 13, 14, 10, that my son was probably 10 or 9 at that moment, and a couple of other teenagers from the neighborhood that my ex is staying in with her father, they all throwing up this set. I said, okay. Somebody's about to get hurt.
Hmm.
So I jump in my car, go to her house. She's at work. She's working graveyard at this moment, and it's probably like 10:30 at nighttime. So I knock on the door. I'm not knocking, I'm banging. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Right. Right.
But this is the father in me, right?
Sure. Sure.
So I see her brother, the shades, like he puts down the shades, but I think he knows. I said, come outside. I need to talk to you. Come outside. He's a gangster. He's a gangster.
Mm.
Come outside. Talk to you. Now, I'm a father. I'm a man. Not only am I'm a man of faith, I'm a father. A very protective one, too. I'm like, I want to talk to you. So my kids is back there. So the kids see me now. Right?
Right.
Look at you. You on the edge of your seat. But follow me what I'm saying. So I'm gesturing for him to come outside. I have some choice words for him. He don't come outside.
Mm.
I get a phone call from my ex. You need to leave the house. I'm gonna call the police. You need to leave. I said, check your messages. I sent her a screenshot of the picture that I just seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my little 9-year-old son is throwing up a set. 9 years old, he has no idea what he's doing. And I don't blame him. He don't know.
Right. No.
Ignorance is bliss.
Right.
He doesn't know. He's a child. But her brother knows.
Mm-hmm.
He just got out of jail, everything. So I said, listen, you tell your brother to come outside, or I'm going to leave and I'll come back and I'll catch him eventually, go into the mailbox, walk into his car, and I'm hurt. So she calls the police. Police come. Boom. They don't arrest me, but they come. I explain to them the deal. That I just want to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
They tell me you need to leave. So I leave. Tammy, I left. So that night I'm dry. So my kids, it was her week. So I don't see my kids for a whole week.
Mm.
You can imagine that being the longest week of my life.
Yes.
I'm checking everything. I'm checking Instagram, Facebook. I'm calling my daughter. My daughter's not picking up her phone because her mom turned her phone off. So I said, okay. That night, I made it home. I prayed to God. I said, God, please give me the strength and endurance to deal with this ugly situation. I don't want this for my kids. I've been on the streets. I done did that whole thing. I said, This is not something I want for my children. I need an out. Tammy, no more than, I would say, that Monday. It's crazy how it played out. My sister, my twin, ends up coming up Now she lives in Southern California. She's a teacher in Anaheim. And I believe she's a third grade teacher. But she comes up that Monday, just made a surprise visit. It's a 5-hour drive too.
Mm.
And she said, knocking at my door. And like she comes up and then my kids get dropped off. So I was telling her what was going on. And she said, you know what? They need an activity to do. And this is kind of during the COVID.
Oh, right.
So they need to do something. I said, well, I used to box and I always wanted to do gymnastics. I was always really, as a kid, I could run up a wall, hit a flip. And so I said, okay, I think I'm going to try the kids with gymnastics and boxing. I mean, all the kids. And I'm paying.
Right.
But I noticed, they're getting good really quickly. And they're not on Instagram. They're not on the social media. Took the phones away. I said, they're getting good. So we had one competition. That was a boxing when my son won this huge belt. And I said, son, you see what that hard work? Did you see what you did? He was like, yeah, Dad, I want another belt, right?
Yeah.
Then my daughter wins her first gymnast competition as a team. You know, she has 12 other girls on her team. And it went from me worrying about my kids, and keep in mind, Tammy, I prayed every day. It wasn't a day that went by that I didn't fall on my knees. And see, that's what a lot of us have. We need to give God that respect. Fall on your knees. Just how you can hope and pray that you get that new car, and you need to thank God every day for letting you wake up. You need to be thanking God every day for letting you even just have the ability to taste, walk, and see.
Yep, I agree.
Those are all things we should be grateful for, right?
Absolutely.
I said, God, thank you so much for blessing me with my kids. My kids are not they're not a hindrance to me. My kids I got some of the most respectful, polite, well-mannered children that you wouldn't believe. I'm like, I wasn't like that. I was the opposite. But I said, man, I got some best friends in front of me.
That's awesome.
It went from when I was married, if I would have stayed with my ex, I probably wouldn't have this relationship with my kids that I do now.
Right.
So in actuality, her leaving and her going her own way, that was the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to bring the story all the way around. So you may be wondering, does she see her kids right now? Not at the moment. Okay. She hasn't seen them in over a year physically. Really? And she lives in the same city, but she has to work on herself. Mental health is, I believe mental health is just how you have your spirituality, your spiritual health, that mental health, that's serious.
Yes.
And she needs to focus on herself. I spent 3 years focusing on myself, not just being spiritual, praying, and I did the work. I went and got a therapist for my children and myself. And I'm going to tell this to other people so other people could say, man, I need to go get a therapist and talk to somebody and get this off my chest so I don't beat nobody up or don't do anything that I'm going to regret later. Because a lot of men need to hear this, and some women too. When that woman leave you or that man leave you, I'm going to tell you what my mama told me and what my grandmother told me at a young age. My grandma had a lot of game. She said, let him leave. They gave you a gift. Let him leave. My grandmother told my brother, because my brother went through a divorce too. She said, leave that girl alone or you're going to regret it. So to all you men, for whatever reason she left, if she don't want to be there, don't you go chasing after her. Don't you go calling her 1,000 times, because that's breaking the law too. You can get in trouble for that. Don't threaten her. Ladies, if he want to leave, you let him go. Because God is going to give you something better.
Yes.
God is going to open up doors that you didn't even know could be opened. That God,
Mhm.
I mean, look, I'm in a very expensive part of Stockton. I live in a very nice area. You can Google it, Quail Lakes, good area. People look at me, I'm the only African American in this community. So people look at me walking outside like, what is he? Blessed. It's God. It's God.
Right. Right.
People look at me and say, how do you deal with 4 kids? You're a single parent. How do you do it? Man, I'm blessed.
Right.
Every day. Every day I go to bed, I say, all the kids, me and my kids are super close, like extremely, right? So I have a conversation with all 4 of them for 10 minutes before they go to bed. It takes me an hour to get them in bed because
Mm.
8:15, we in showers.
Right.
8:30, all right, each of y'all grab a book, read it for 10 minutes to wind down.
Mm.
And then I go talk to each of them for 10 minutes. And each of them, I say a prayer with each of them. That's 40 minutes right there.
Yeah.
By 9 o'clock, I know how each of their day went,
Mm.
right? I know
Yeah.
how each of their day went. I know what's going on. And those are things as parents, we got to take into accountability because we wonder, why isn't my child close with me when they turn an adult? Because you didn't build that relationship that you should have
Mm.
built with them when they was an adolescent child.
Mm. So good. I love
Mhm.
you, Adam. Just so you
Love you
know.
too, Tim. It's just, I feel so, it's one thing. I love God. God is so good. You ever woke up, Tammy? I know you know this, so don't play with me. I know you know. You just wake up and you're depressed. You don't feel like getting out of bed. You be ready to say, I'm done.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
I'm so done. And then your kids run in the room, or you hear that. Can I get
Yeah.
some cereal? It's like, man, God, why you gotta put me in a good mood? You don't want to be in a good mood, but God put you in a good mood.
Right. Yeah.
That's what he's done for me. And I got friends like you, just reaching out. You don't know what it means when you just see one of your friends message you, how you doing? I've been
Mm.
thinking about you.
Mm. Yeah.
That means a lot to people. Just a message.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does it take to say, hey, how's everything going? I had a brother, me and my friend Jordan, he passed away. He was murdered.
Yeah.
I've known this man since I was 13 years old. He was murdered by his girlfriend 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was a dancer too.
Yeah.
He was a really good person. And he suffered from his own things,
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism, and that was a battle that he was finally conquering. But
Yeah.
he was murdered by his girlfriend. She stabbed him 6 times, 3 in the back, 3 in the chest,
Mm.
as he was trying to leave.
Mm.
And I was there hours before he was slain. I was there hours. And me and him he had a beautiful apartment, him and her. They shared a beautiful apartment and overlooked all of San Francisco. I'll send you a picture of it's a beautiful view. But he said 2 things that bothered me. He said, man, if I ever pass away, don't do no funeral, Adam. He used some other words, but he said,
Yeah.
don't do no funeral. Just take my ashes and spread them across the bay. And I looked at him, I said, man, are we talking like that? Because words are powerful.
They are. They are.
Words are powerful. I said, man, I want you to speak life into existence. Don't talk like
Right.
that.
Right.
We speak life over here into existence. That day, and so for anybody who's watching this, is this live? I don't know how it is, but
No, it's good. They'll hear
for
it.
anybody who's watching this, I really believe that words can come into reality.
Mm. For sure.
Um, Hours later, he died. Hours, he
Mm.
was murdered. Imagine, tell me, I'm there at 8 o'clock having a beer with my friend, overlooking San Francisco, him talking about, him being gone and death. And then hours later, his girlfriend murders him.
Mm.
So I didn't even find out that evening. What ended up happening was it was Black Friday. So he was so Thanksgiving was on Thursday. He was murdered the following day, Friday evening. Saturday evening, I get a phone call from San Francisco Police Department. It's weird. And they said, hey, is this Mr. White? I said, yeah, this is me. Oh, we're calling a reference to Jordan. I said, yeah, that's my friend. I'm not gonna say his last name, but
Right.
Jordan. And he's been murdered. I said, what? It's not impossible. I was just with him. I'm thinking it's a joke, a game. They said no. Um, he was murdered by his fiance.
Mm.
And I was, my heart, my throat dropped to my stomach.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And like I said, it was 3 people who were really there for me. He was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
This man was another person who said, your kids are going to be amazing athletes.
Mm-hmm.
He said, keep them in boxing. He said, I don't see them doing basketball. I don't see them doing football. Keep them in boxing and keep that girl in gymnastics. He said, don't you let them stop. He always had faith in those children. He said,
Mm-hmm.
those kids are going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was really hurt hearing that news, because they
Mm.
loved Uncle Jordan.
Yeah.
And I sat on that for a while. And I said, you know what? Instead of me being depressed, I spent 2 weeks where, you feel sad.
Sure.
You go through the ups and downs. You go through the human emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in my therapist's office, she has a picture of a human brain. And, it says human emotions, anger, happiness, anxiety, and all these things, right? But
Right.
when you take in accountability for all those, you can get through your process a little quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So my process of dealing with grief was a little quicker than a lot of other people's, because I knew this is a person that I loved, but I also knew I could always have the memories of our
Mm-hmm.
friendship.
Right.
And that's what I could cherish, is those
Yes.
memories.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have those memories. And it's sad to say, a lot of his family didn't have those.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know him as an adult because he was estranged from his family for 3 years.
Mm.
So a lot of his family had to contact me about what was he like past 3 years.
Yeah.
And I got to think about those memories, and I got to share them, those memories with them.
Yes.
And we're like, man, he was a good person. So he was an amazing guy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it was really sad when I saw that, because I throughout the time that I've known you guys, I had messaged with Jordan a little bit back in like 2016 and stuff. And yeah. And I've been so sorry for that, but, and, like you said about grief, everybody deals with grief different. I was just with my friend yesterday. We had lunch, or Monday, that she lost her son, who was my best friend, in 2020 to an accidental overdose. And we just talked about that, the grief process, and how everybody grieves differently. And I love what you said, because I talk about this a lot too, is the memories are what we have. I mean, we can't do one thing to change that someone is gone. We just can't change that, right? And unfortunately, it's inevitable. We are all here on this earth for a little while, and we're all going to pass. But if we have those memories, and we are that person that is kind, we are that person that is thankful, that is grateful, that helps other people, that prays to our God, and we do all the things we're supposed to, when we're gone, we hope that someone is always like, well, I remember this. I remember Tammy like this. I remember Adam like this, and that's so important. And I want to go to something that you've talked about a couple of times, and then we can wrap it up. Therapy.
Yeah.
I love, so I'm a big advocate of counseling, therapy, whatever it is that you got to do. But I'm a big advocate for mental health with men. I know women need it too. I get it. But I know, and especially in your culture, Adam, I've been learning that you're not supposed to go talk to people and get help and do all those things. It's frowned upon. Like, man up, you're fine. Suck it up. You're going to be good. But if you would share a little bit about how important the therapy is, and to have your kids in therapy, because, excuse me, for them, not, goodness, seeing their mom for a year, they need that. They need to know like why and what she's going through in that. So just share a little bit, if you would, like how important therapy is to you, I guess, and why you put your kids in it.
Okay, so to give you a backdrop, my kids are biracial. So their
Okay.
mother is Asian.
Okay.
So they were dealing already with bullying in school.
Mm.
And I didn't want them to, because you may get some kids may look at them, well, you ain't Black,
Mm-hmm.
you're Asian. Some Asian kids may, you ain't Asian, you Black.
Mm-hmm.
So they dealt with that. They dealt with bullying, their mother leaving. So that may cause low self-esteem. These are things that I'm calculating in my head before
Sure.
I even take them to therapy.
Sure.
Right? You got to do a pro and cons list for everybody. So if you're skeptical on getting a therapist, just do a list.
Right.
Why should I get a therapist? Why shouldn't I get a therapist? Do the pros and cons, right? So I'm like, you know what? Son is getting in trouble. He's fighting. Daughter's having a hard time. Okay, I'm going to try. I'm just going to try it.
Mm-hmm.
If it don't work, it don't work. But if you never try, then how will you know if it'll ever work?
Exactly.
The first day, Tammy, I went by myself at first, my therapist. I went by myself. I sought out a good therapist. It took me two different, I went through two different people to find the right one that fits me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's okay if the first one you feel like, oh, I didn't get anything from it, try another one. It's called get a second opinion.
Right.
So I met this wonderful lady named Ani. She's wonderful. And I just was able to be open and it just gelled. And it was the best decision outside of meeting my ex-wife and having kids with her,
Mm-hmm.
outside of having close friends, outside of having your family members to run to. Having a therapist is probably one of the most vital things you could ever do for yourself as a human. Being able to go talk to somebody about your deepest, darkest thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing you could do for yourself.
Yes, I agree.
Imagine, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
I don't want to go too dark, but I'm going to go a little dark. But let's say, Tammy, you're married to a wonderful man. He's a millionaire. He treats you so good. He's a man of faith, and he's honest and open, and he's a giving person, not even on a financial, but he just giving. He's the man that you've always wanted. Now let's say that this perfect man just left, changed his number, ghosted you. Right?
Right.
Do you think that you would need a therapist?
Do I think I need a therapist?
Would you think if you went through that having this perfect man in your life for years, having this great relationship for years, and next thing you know, he ghosted you and you see him on the internet with somebody else?
Yeah, definitely need therapy. For sure. For sure.
That's and people go through this on the daily.
Right. By themselves.
Men and women go through this and not just women, we both go through this on the daily.
Correct.
And some people will never go talk, will never open up.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that need it the most.
For sure.
Because you may get into a fender bender, and that fender bender turns into a fight because that person was holding in so much and it overflowed the cup.
Yes.
Tolerance and love.
Yes.
So that fight turned into something that shouldn't have been. The insurance company should have dealt with it. You follow me though?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I teach my children to talk about their emotions and to take themselves into accountability.
Yeah.
My children are very emotionally intelligent, right? My 7-year-old, when he gets upset, why are you upset, son? He's able to articulate what's wrong in that moment at that time.
Mm, it's so
So ask
powerful.
yourself a question, Ani. If I'm raising these kids, I told my daughter, I said, listen, and little girls are different. I've had to learn. I have to be softer with my daughter versus my sons because women, they're just different.
Right. We are.
Day and night, men and women, day and night.
Yep.
I've had to learn to be more patient with my daughter. I can't say, get your butt in that car, get your boxing bag, get to that gym, and shut up.
Right.
So when my daughter doesn't feel like going to gymnastic practice, okay, baby girl, what's wrong? Well, I don't like the way my coach is talking to me, and I don't, and she's able to articulate what's wrong with her, when and why. Okay, well, how about this? How about you get your bag and we'll talk to the coach when we get there?
Yeah.
Okay, Dad, problem solved.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So as humans, let's start thinking logically,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's put the pettiness behind us. Let's go get some therapy. Let's go get some counseling, whatever you need to be a better human for tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Tammy?
Absolutely.
And I love you.
I love you.
That's
Look, we just loved each other on here. No, it's so true. And
right.
one thing that you said too, when you were talking about pros and cons and writing them down, I tell people this all the time in relationships, things like that. Like, okay, you're miserable, but some days you're happy, right? Like you see that little bit of hope there with someone. We're just going to stay in a relationship. And my ex-sister-in-law actually was one that told me to do this because I had the hardest time leaving my children's dad. Not so much because it was an amazing relationship. It was more of, am I going to lose the family? I had that one day that he was really good and I had that hope in him and I could change him, all of those things. But she told me, seriously, take a piece of paper, write down pros, cons. If the cons outweigh the pros, then figure out what you got to do to make that equal or all pros, right? Once you write that down and writing, not just in your head, because your head can be like, oh, well, it'll make excuses for the other things. You write that down and you seriously look at it. That's when you're going to know, like, yes, I need to go to a counselor. Yes, I need to leave this relationship. Yes, I need to leave this job, or I need to stay. I think that writing things down like that is so important. And then taking the steps forward. You could look at that piece of paper and be like, yeah, this is what I got to do, but am I going to do it? And like you said, we get up every day. I get up every day thankful and grateful and blessed that I got to take a breath of air and open my eyes and see. And I get to go out there and try to be the light to the world. That is my blessing every day. But I could turn that all around, like you said, lay in bed one morning and be like, I don't want to get up, blah, 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 blah. But as soon as I say my gratefulness, no, I have a job to do on this earth, but I can't do it unless I myself get in a good place. And by doing that, I have to talk to people. I have to go to counselors. I have to do the things and just remind people that it's okay. You're not crazy or insane or anything because you are trying to get help for yourself. It is a good thing to help you to not be crazy and insane, right?
You know what's crazy, Tammy, is you made me think about it because I know my purpose. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of men and women well into their 50s, even early 60s, they never came across their purpose. And like, because I know you're still doing Lavelle. So, like when you do your own business, the first thing you ask yourself is, what is your why so you don't quit, right?
Right.
I've known my purpose and my why. I didn't come across it until my early 30s. Even then, I ignored it until 3 years ago when I went through my divorce. So we'll end it off like this. So you may say, and I hope this can reach a single parent, man or woman. I hope this really can, so you can identify what your why is or your purpose is. So my purpose was never to be a millionaire, was never to be some, in the limelight. No, my purpose is to be the best father that I could be, period. I want to be, I want my kids, when I'm older and I'm in my 60s and 70s and 80s, my 90s, even 110.
Nice.
I want my kids to be able to say, my dad had the best dad in the world. My dad is just, I want my children to understand that our grandfather, our great grandfather, our great great grandfather sacrificed so we could have.
Mm,
My purpose is to see my kids and a generational financial curse that has burdened a lot of African American people in our community in America.
mm,
I already know where my kids are going in life, and their trajectory is up
mm-hmm,
because of what I'm willing to sacrifice.
mm,
I'm willing to give myself 150% so they can, and it's not even through boxing. Or one may want to be a surgeon or
right.
anything. But that's
Right.
part of thinking big. At the beginning of our conversation, I'm teaching them to think big now, but
Mhm.
put some action behind it.
Right.
Don't think big and not have any action, and you're just procrastinating with laziness. We don't do
Right.
that over here. If your last name is White, you're gonna think big, you're gonna do what you gotta do. And you're gonna reach your goals. Every goal you set, you're gonna reach it.
Awesome. Adam, I'm just blessed to know you. You know, I know 2016, God was like, hey, you're going to talk to these two break dancers, Tammy, because they're going to be your friends forever. And
That's
that's what
right.
happened, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And I'm so blessed of that. And I'm just blessed to see you, you know, I know that when you were going through your divorce and all that, I remember you were off social media, there was some things, and, you know, you really had to work through some things, and to see you
Oh
and what
yeah,
you do
for
with your
sure.
kids is amazing. Everybody, when I post this, put some pictures of just the boys boxing and his daughter, and just picture the amazing family that Adam has. So
And you can follow us on Instagram at Team White Boxing. Team White Boxing on Instagram.
okay, I'll put that in the comments and the links when I put it on here too. So anything
Yeah.
you want to add before we wrap it up, Adam?
Man, I love you, Tammy. You're an amazing person. You're an amazing coach. You're an amazing inspiration. And you make me want to be a better man.
Oh, you're so sweet. I love you, Adam. I can't wait. I'll be out in California again soon, April. Hopefully I can see you.
Okay, good. Now I know
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
now we
show
know
y'all
ahead
a
of
good
time.
time. I'm gonna show y'all a
Right.
good time.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, listen, everyone, I appreciate you getting on Hope today. I hope you all have an amazing day. And remember, your struggles, we know, are real. Struggles are hard, but with your faith, whatever it is you believe, myself, it's God, Adam, it's God, whatever it is that you believe in that and have that faith, and know that you can open that front door and you can walk out and you can take a deep breath, and one step at a time, and you can do it. I promise. We have faith in you. You guys all have an amazing day, and thank you for getting on Hope.